Welcome everyone. I'm Amy. I am a nutritional therapy practitioner and I'm also an NPC fit model and bikini competitor. And this is week 3 post fit model show and whatever week this is of my off season. If you hear intermittent clubby style music and or general gaiety kind of sounds playing in the pool and such, it's because I am above the pool in my building and it is actually close to 80 degrees today, so there's a lot of merrymaking out at the pool, and they have been intermittently turning on some very kind of thumpy club style music. So if that starts up, I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. They let them get a little rowdy at the pool in the summer, which is fine. So let's talk about my feedback from my coach. And then also in this vlog, I'm going to have some footage from my talk with Mike Horner on the Mike Horner Muscle is his channel. It'll be linked and it'll also be in the next clip. I've also got a grocery haul. I forgot to put my grocery haul in last week. So I've got last week's grocery haul and this week's grocery haul. And then of course in my outro, I'm going to talk about what I sent as feedback for the week or my check-in. So my feedback from Aaron this week, the couple of things that he hit on the most were, of course, addressing that I'm still, struggling a little bit with these skin issues. He did recommend digging in a little bit more to the GI map, which I mentioned in my outro last week. I don't necessarily think that it's a GI or a lower GI, or lower GI, yes, but more small intestine versus large intestine issues that I'm having. So I don't know that running a GI map is going to be the best use of my money because even for me at cost, it still is about $400 to run a GI map. And I just don't know if that's really what's happening. So I kind of want to give it maybe a little bit more time and see if perhaps I can kind of backtrack it and just kind of resolve some of this on my own before I do just jump into spending the money on the GI map. So that's where I'm at with that. Then he gave me a lot of feedback. Let's talk about the workouts first. So I mentioned in my check-in from last week that I was gonna just go right into my upper body meso because I felt like even though my legs were feeling kind of heavy, the leg volume on my upper body meso is so low and so isolated, like it's just one exercise per workout and sometimes none, that I felt like that would almost be kind of that built-in deload for the lower body. When he initially read that in my check-in, he said, absolutely not, you need the deload. But then as he kind of talked it out to himself when he was giving the feedback a little bit more, he said that actually that would probably be fine. As long as I took it easy on my legs and just kind of left a lot of reps in reserve. But it would be okay to kind of go into pushing, the regular week 1 reps in reserve for the upper body stuff and then maybe just taking a little bit lighter on the legs. So that's what I did. And like I said, there's only in most of the workouts for the week, 1, sometimes 2 lower body exercises. So I did just kind of treat them kind of like not like super easy, but not crazy hard, like just kind of like a doable thing. And since there was just so little volume overall, it felt great. So by the end of the week, my legs were feeling much more well recovered. So I think that was probably just a fine thing to do, especially because, I'd also had the show in my last mesocycle. So training was a little bit off because of that. And just in general, I just have been feeling not so much myself. So that has, I'm sure, impacted the gym as well. But it's been great to go into this mesocycle and looking at where I'd finished it last time. So 6 weeks ago when I did it last, that a lot of my weights I've been able to kind of pick back up where I was at the end of that mesocycle. So I've regressed a little bit on some things, back to kind of the mid of the mesocycle, just on exercises that I'm actually not really trying to push it that hard on, specifically like the chest exercises. Like I'm not trying to grow my chest. So I don't really, I push it, but I'm not trying to like super push it, if that makes sense. So I'm totally fine with kind of being stable on some of those things. And then also some things like shoulders, there's just not a lot of not a lot of jumps that can be made on some of the things I'm doing, like with cable laterals. Like I don't have the little incremental weights on this machine. So it's going up by like 5 to 10 pounds each time. So can't make as much jump in weights there. So what I've been doing on some of those is just going up in the set reps a little bit. So instead of going for 12, I can get 15 and still be within where I'm supposed to be for reps in reserve, given that if I was to jump up from 10 pounds to 20 pounds, I'd only be able to get like half the reps. So making a few little adjustments there just based on the equipment that I have available. So that's what I've been doing this week. So that's actually been working out really well. So then the rest of the feedback was more still, about how I've been kind of struggling with the weight. He still insists that the weight gain is nothing and that it's tiny and meaningless. And again, that's that's a challenge that I'm having. And yes, I am really working on dealing with accepting the weight gain for sure. He thinks it's really, really slow and that there weren't any big jumps. I'm like, well, there absolutely was a big jump because I'm still sitting, 10 pounds above where I was the day after my show. So that to me is a huge jump because, from my last show of last year of 2024, I'm up like 20 pounds, but 10 of that pounds like literally feels like it came on in a day or a week after this show. So it feels like a big jump to me, but he doesn't see it that way when he looks at it. So, we're just not really seeing eye to eye on that, which is fine. And I think I mentioned this once before, like several months ago, that he tends to look at the lowest high and the highest low, whereas I look at the lowest low and the highest high. So there's just drastic differences in those numbers. But that to me is the realist way to look at it, is to look at the lowest low to the highest high and to where I'm kind of maintaining the high. So, there was that. And then the other thing that he spent a lot of time talking about was that if I can't deal with this, then I'm just not well suited to physique sports. Because this is part of being in physique sports. And while I don't disagree with that entirely, and yes, I've absolutely had those thoughts and feelings, especially coming out of this Fit Model show and feeling like I don't really have an identity in the sport and just not feeling good about how I did necessarily in the show. I've had those thoughts of like, well, maybe I'm just really not cut out for this. And that's really what he said, like it's just, maybe I'm just really not cut out for this and maybe I just shouldn't be doing this. And, if I can't deal with this, then this is absolutely not the thing for me. So, I appreciate what he is saying there. I also don't think that I have to just blow up in my off season to be a good competitor. So that's where he left it. Pretty much. Let me look and see if there's anything else. Look at the transcript. One other thing he mentioned at the very end, just as he was kind of summing everything up, was the stress component with GI issues, which absolutely, that if I'm stressing out, he, said mentally, if you're internally fighting the weight gain and really not embracing it whatsoever, that's stressful, and that stress level and higher cortisol level directly correlates to gut health. And these are directly related and very much linked. He said, I think if you were to be at peace and mindfully okay with how your physique is moving, I think that would show some positive signs on all of these negatives that you're seeing right now as well. So something to keep in mind and consider is what he said. And that's an AI transcript of what he was saying. So that's why it comes off a little bit odd. So yeah, that was the feedback from the week. So moving on with my upper meso, hoping my skin stuff starts to resolve, and yeah, going about my week. So that's all I've got for the intro. So like I said, I will have some footage from my time with Mike. I'm not sure what he wants to talk about. I just found out it's going to be a live stream. So it'll be live on his channel the night we do it. And that means there can be, questions in the live, which is really fun. I'm not brave enough or together enough to start doing lives. I guess I like doing videos and then putting them out kind of as like a, a vlog versus a live, but that'll be really fun. And I am excited. Mike is competing in the Emerald Cup up on the Pacific Northwest here in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be super cool as well. He is coached by my friend Paul, so I'm sure he's going to bring him in looking amazing. And Mike is just a really cool guy. So that's all I've got for the intro. You get 2 grocery hauls coming up and my interview with Mike, and then I will see you guys back here for the outro. All right, so this is my Costco and Walmart haul from the week. I'm also probably going to run to Trader Joe's because there were things I wanted at Walmart that I forgot to get because I just saw an open checkout lane and took it. That's my only excuse. I ended up not walking back through the store like I planned. I'm like, oh, look, there's an open checkout. And I just went in there and checked out. And as soon as I got to my car, I realized I'd forgotten a few things that I wanted, but I can walk to Trader Joe's and get them. So I decided not to go back in. So this is what I got at Costco. I got a pack of the chicken tenderloins. And again, this is a big pack. There's actually 6 of these. If you have not seen the video where I talk about cutting them up prior to putting them in the freezer, I highly recommend it. They're just a lot easier to handle if you actually cut them into the 6 chunks and then kind of stack them on top of each other when you put them in the freezer versus putting them in the freezer like this big pack, because they stick together and are really impossible to deal with when they're frozen solid. So definitely cut those apart before you freeze them. I'm going to cook up 1 pouch today and throw the rest in the freezer. I also got a bag of the organic blueberries. I love these. You guys have seen my meal prep. I put blueberries on almost everything. They go really well with zucchini, which I also got at Costco. Right now they have these mixed bags, so it's still a 3.5 pound bag, but it was 6 zucchini and 2 yellow squash, which I was really excited about. And then I also got a bag of the turkey jerky. I like having this on hand. It's just a great, quick, easy protein snack if I need it, especially good for days when I'm really busy at work and just don't have time to eat a meal. Has 10 grams of protein per serving and only 8 grams of carbs. So this is a great thing to have on hand. It does have to be refrigerated after you open it, so if you buy that, keep that in mind. They had the veggie bouillon base back in stock. Not a whole lot of them. They were on the spice aisle where they kind of used to be. They only had a few, but I grabbed one. Only one, I know, not like me, but when I shop at Costco, I pay cash, and I knew how much cash I had, so I knew I could get one. If I went over, I would have gone over what I decided as my budget before I went in. And then I also picked up a big thing of the Calm Magnesium Citrate. I'd use this at night. It's just helpful for sleep and also helpful for digestion. I do have another magnesium on Subscribe and Save with Amazon, but depending on whether or not this one's on sale at Costco, I go back and forth, because when this one's on sale at Costco, it's cheaper. When it's not on sale, the Amazon one is less expensive, and they're both good. So I got that. And then at Walmart, the only things I went in for other things, and like I said, I didn't remember to get them. So I picked up a few more zucchini, just 4 of them, just little guys, just so I had enough to make it through the whole week. A couple of bags of the fat-free mild cheddar, a honey Dijon mustard, love this. And then I wasn't planning on getting these 2 things of digestive greens, but they had them, or super greens, they had them on sale. So I picked up the Bloom greens and superfoods in the berry flavor. They had this one marked down to $15, so it makes it only 30 cents a serving, so that's really a good deal. And then they also had this one from Biome, I'm assuming is how they pronounce it, the digestive greens, marked down to $12. So picked up one of those as well, because even on Amazon, this one on Subscribe and Save is still $18, so the $12 was a really good deal. So I will try those when the time comes, and they don't expire until 2026. So plenty of time. June, I mean, there's over a year before these expire. These ones, same thing. They have a year. So I don't know why they were marked down, but they were. So I grabbed those. And yeah, that was it. The things I needed, I wanted more cauliflower and more frozen Brussels sprouts. So those are the things I will probably run to Trader Joe's for either today or sometime next week. That's it. All right. So this is my Kroger, or King Soopers, as we call it here in Colorado, and Redcon 1 haul. Yes, I cannot resist. When Redcon 1 does amazing sales, I find myself buying more and more and more. But let's talk about the Redcon 1 stuff. Let's start there. So I got 4 total tubs of protein powder. These are the 20 serving size, so they're a little bit smaller, and these are because they are the limited edition flavors. So this one is the Coach Primetime Red Velvet. I got 2 of these. I've never tried that flavor before, so that one was really exciting. And then I also got 2 more of the Coach Primetime Strawberry Cheesecake. I did try this, a couple months ago and really liked it. So when I saw that they had it on special, I grabbed 2 more of those. I also got 2 of the Total War Pump. This is the non-stim pump product that I love. I got the sour gummy bear flavor and also the strawberry kiwi. They're both really good. I don't have a preference one or the other. They also do, I think they have Total War in the tiger blood flavor also, which is kind of like a coconut, I guess, kind of flavor. And I got the sour gummy bear. There's another one, but blue lemonade, maybe, blue lemonade. They're all really good. You can't go wrong. All the flavors are really tasty. That's something that Redcon 1 really does well, is their flavors. So that's all I got. I limited myself just to those few things. I know you're all surprised. Guess that means I get to order again soon. But The rest of this all came from Kroger. I got some yellow zucchini squash and also some regular zucchini. Got a bag of frozen peas and a bag of frozen cauliflower. Also got a just regular sea salt. I do tend, when I salt most things, I use the light salt from Morton's, but I like having just regular salt, like for baking or for other purposes. I like just having some regular, just sea salt on hand. Also got a few of these. I've never tried these before. They call them Carb Master. They're a lactose-free yogurt. Well, they're a lactose-free cultured dairy product. And they had really fun sounding flavors. So I grabbed a banana cream pie, also a strawberry banana, because strawberry banana is one of my favorite yogurt combos, a pina colada, and a cinnamon roll, which could be terrible, could be good. But they all have about the same macros. They have 1.5 grams of fat, 9 grams of protein, and 4 grams of carbs, and just 1 gram of sugar. Like I said, they are lactose free. They do have some kind of interesting ingredients in them. They're kind of a sort of food. So not something I would probably consume a lot of, but they were on sale, and I was like, like let's give those a try. So they'll be fun to kind of throw in as a little probably dessert or a little snack throughout the week. So that's it. That was my whole haul. Not a very big one, but I didn't need a whole ton of stuff. It's midweek.
What was it like to step on the stage the first time?
Oh gosh, it was kind of surreal. It was like I've been thinking about it for so long and I'd been to so many shows, so it was like I kind of in my head knew all the things. Getting tan the first time was certainly an interesting experience, and it was kind of just this thing, like I just went out there and did it. I was shaking like crazy, but it was just like I just did it. Yeah.
Nice. So, what has been some of your biggest challenges during a bikini prep?
Ooh, the biggest challenges, probably like my first prep, like not knowing what to expect from just like an energy and like kind of mental down regulation standpoint, like not really knowing that that was coming. Um, that was probably challenging. And also, I didn't really realize that it had happened until I was no longer there. So that was probably the most challenging part. I just not feeling like myself for a certain amount of time and not expecting that, not really knowing how to deal with that or how to like explain it to other people even.
Yeah, that was also something that I wasn't prepared for when I did my first show. And I was definitely a lot fatter, so I had to like be on a super depleted for a very long time.
Oh,
And I was like, it was tough. Yeah, so that's
yeah.
definitely a challenge. So, what's your favorite part of show day?
Oh, I like just the feeling of being around all the other competitors, because
Yeah,
for so long, when you prep, and unless you have a lot of other bodybuilders at your gym, but like I don't. And even though they're out there, and like I have you and I have all the, AB Live guys, so I have great friends in bodybuilding, but no one who's really local to me. So when you get there and you're like, wow, like we're all here, like we all did this, we're all in this together, and seeing everyone in their beautiful suits and just being so excited to be part of the whole process is like my favorite part of the day.
yeah. Yeah, that's been a byproduct for me too. Coming back to competing after leaving for a while, I reconnected with like an old coach and some of the guys on our original bodybuilding team, the Northwest Muscle bodybuilding team, and there was like 5 or 6 of us men that were all competing at the same time, and a handful of bikini girls. And um, reconnecting with them, it was kind of a cool benefit of going back to it, because I hadn't talked with a
Yeah.
lot of them in a while, and that was pretty fun. And half the time, like when the more I get into bodybuilding, the more I just love all the people. Right?
Hmm.
This is just really great people, and not just like-minded in building our bodies, but just like building our lives and living in with a positive mindset, and the kind of people just do hard stuff for fun. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
particular breed of person, right?
Yes. Yeah. Who
I,
have a goal. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So speaking of that, what else do you do in life that is hard for fun?
I mean, that's pretty much it. The other things as anyone who has been to the Arnold or the Olympia knows, I love to bake. I love to cook, love to bake, I love to crochet. Uh, Back in the day, I was a very avid skier, but I don't tend to ski as much anymore, mostly because I don't want to get injured because I have like you tear a rotator cuff skiing, and it's like, oh, is that really worth it? Like all the time you have to take off bodybuilding? Like, maybe not. Don't want to blow out a knee.
Same reason I stopped snowboarding. Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it just becomes a risk reward benefit. Like, do I really want to take that chance?
So
So in bikini, and also in FitModel, like you are judged on everything. You're judged on things including your hair, your makeup, your presentation, your suit. Literally, you could be down, like scored down just because they don't like the color of your suit. Like it can not look good with your skin tone. It cannot look good with your hair. They might not like the jewelry you're wearing. It might be distracting. So literally everything is being nitpicked by the judges in a way that it is not in the men's categories. So those things matter. So you want to make sure you have a suit that not only complements your skin tone, yes, we're all tan, but we still all have like a skin tone that is unique to us. And just our facial features and our makeup and our hair, all of those things need to complement it. But also, and this is so key, the cut and the fit of the suit can also be a make or break. When you have these physiques up on stage, that there's, maybe let's say there's 1% difference between all of them, but one of them is in a suit that doesn't fit or doesn't highlight their glutes or hide something. The cut in the back, specifically around the glutes, can make your glutes look really square when they're not. If your suit top is too small or too big, like all of those things are going to change the way your physique looks. So that's the last thing you want, is have a judge say like, wow, you would have done better if your suit bottoms didn't sit so awkwardly on your hips. Like, I just did all of this for that
That would
to
hurt.
be the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Or like your connector was distracting. Oh my gosh, like we spent all this time. So I think that's why I put a lot of thought and effort into it, because I don't want that, like a controllable, something I can control
Yeah.
and didn't, to be a thing that makes me place worse. I have enough things I need to work on. Like I need my suit to not be one of the things that holds me back.
Well, I asked ChatGPT what NPC FitModel is. Have you done that?
No, what did it say?
This division combines elements of fitness, fashion, modeling, and physique presentation. It's meant to showcase an athletic tone and marketable physique that should be suitable for commercial fitness modeling. I'm not sure where ChatGPT got that. It seems different than what I read in the NPC page, but and then it says what they're judging is overall marketability. Could you appear in a fitness magazine? Poise and presence, right? Which we already know they judge that. Athletic physique, lean tone, healthy look, but not as muscular or conditioned as bikini or figure. Beauty and symmetry, of course. And swimwear. And for some reason, ChatGPT is under the impression that there is a formal wear presentation involved.
Oh, in some federations there is.
Oh,
So
really?
there are some federations that have a model category that do have it's way more like pageant. Like they have an evening wear, their suits are a lot different, but it's still considered their model category. Yeah, that is real in some federations. Yeah.
Interesting. And then it gives some key differences from bikini. It says that fit model is more model and fashion oriented, and bikini is more athletic and fitness oriented. Fit model has less emphasis on glute and hamstring detail, which I think we knew that. And where bikini has more emphasis on the lower body, may include a gown. Of course, there's no formal wear in bikini. And the overall marketability, where the bikini is supposed to be more staged focus. So I don't know. Maybe ChatGPT is not too far off.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty accurate. I mean, that
Yeah.
is even Tyler Manning, when he introduced the category, did say, like you'd see on a fitness magazine, a more achievable physique.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, if you've seen an IFBB bikini pro, that is one hell of a
Yes.
physique.
They say they want it to be one thing, but then the examples they use, it just looks like you said, it looks like a bikini from a decade ago, right?
Well, that's exactly what they used. They also said they didn't want etched abs and showed a picture of a person with completely etched in abs.
Well, and I think
So,
the girl who won the overall at your show had abs. So,
yep.
yeah.
Did, and so have a lot of the winners. It has been interesting to see, now there have been a lot more fit model competitions to see who they are rewarding, and they absolutely are going toward leaner athletes now,
Yeah.
way leaner than they were in the beginning, and a lot more, allowing a lot more definition. Something that I've noticed in the last couple of competitions is that they have, it's almost like, I think at first people were thinking that this was kind of like off-season bikini look. It's kind of becoming almost like an off-season wellness look, where the bottom half is kind of allowed or rewarded a little bit softer and fuller, but still they're rewarding like a much smaller upper body, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? It'll be really interesting to see, once we have the first national show, that's going to change a lot. Right now these have all been NPC amateur shows. So that's, I think, going to change things too. I think as long as I feel like I would be putting a good version of myself on stage, like a version of myself that I felt really proud of,
Yeah.
then I would absolutely consider it. Yes. So I think that's been the hardest part for me after this show, is just feeling not good about what I put on stage, and I've never felt like that before. So I don't want to feel like that again. So if I wouldn't want to do another show if that's how I was going to feel.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mermaids. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many ways. Well,
Yeah.
the gut is misunderstood, but it also it needs a balance as well. Like there's commensal bacteria, which is what you're going to find in probiotics, which are like the good bacteria. But if you get far too much commensal bacteria, some of the other strains of bacteria are going to have, start to die off, and then that balance is going to get off. And you're always looking to have balance in the gut. And that's where bodybuilders will a lot of times fall into digestive issues. And I am not immune to that either. We eat the same things, right? Because it's easy, we're on prep, whatever. We're literally eating the exact same food every single day. And that changes the bacteria in your gut because they're only living off of what you feed them. Like these are living organisms. So if a certain type of fiber is not getting in, if a certain type of fermentable food isn't really getting in to feed some of the other microbes, they die. You can repopulate them, but the balance is going to get off. And that can happen really quickly. Even small things, the people you live with, your animals, you all start to share a similar microbiome. So those things can affect your own microbiome as well. And if you have a very sensitive digestive system, it may be something that you don't even consider that's affecting your digestive system.
Yeah.
Too
Absolutely.
much
Yeah.
probiotic is one of them, though. That's
Oh,
a big pet peeve of mine too.
yeah.
Like, of course
Yeah.
you're taking a probiotic. You take like 6 a day, sure.
Well, that's a simple explanation I tell them is like, look, you can add all of the probiotic bacteria that you want. If you're not feeding the bacteria, they're not going to stay around.
Yeah.
Or if you're feeding it the wrong things, some will survive and some will not, and it's not in balance. I mean, I'm pretty proud of the fact that for a bodybuilder, I have a really healthy digestive system. Like, it makes me more compelled to dive into it. But what keeps you motivated to keep going in bodybuilding?
Oh, because there's always something to improve on. I mean, right now, like I have so many areas I really need to improve on, not only with my physique, but again, things like my presentation that I can improve. Uh, just wanting to be the best version of myself is what keeps me motivated. And there's always something,
Right.
always. And I mean, in bigger, broader picture of life, be a healthy person, as uninjured as possible. But to compete is just to be better.
Yeah. So, how do you handle like, for women, this is really a thing, but the sort of like body comparison, social media really contributes to this a lot,
Mm.
where we're always sort of measuring our bodies against other people's bodies. How, again, I'm trying to phrase this question differently than I wrote it after hearing your vlog this morning, but how do you handle those struggles?
I would say two ways. It's part of the sport. So it's not like it's an unexpected thing. I try, though, to keep it in perspective. And honestly, I think something that probably helps me with that is that I have worked in plastic surgery for almost 20 years now, and I see people nitpick themselves ridiculously in ways that are completely unrealistic. So I've seen a lot of that. And so I know when I have a little bit of ability to kind of pull back a little bit and detach myself from it, but still be able to see how I look compared to someone else and be like, okay, what is it that I like about the way this person looks? Or what was it about this person's presentation that I can strive to achieve? That doesn't take anything away from me now. Me now not presenting well or me now not having a great glute ham tie-in doesn't say anything really about me except that I could do better. And like, so when you look at someone who is doing that better, seeing that as motivation to get there versus some unachievable, I'll never be like that, so I shouldn't even try kind of defeatist outlook, or just getting caught up in my own nitpicking. Like I said, like we see these people coming in, every day. I see women just tear themselves apart needlessly. Uh, you know, keeping those two things like as much as possible separate in my mind. But it's hard, especially with social media, to not look and be like, wow, like
Yeah.
they look so much better than me. But again, who's in charge of that? Me. I can look better than me, but I can only look better than me if I keep trying.
Right. Yeah. That's really what it's all about, right? I'm not always trying to just beat the guy next to me. I mean, with so much of competing, like the shows are just about who shows up on any given day,
Mhm.
and we did an amateur show,
Yeah.
but I also think that will help shape the division going forward. So, 3 years from now, once all of that sort of filters through, we'll kind of know what fit model really is.
Yeah.
I think it'll take that long. What do you think the future of that division looks like?
It's hard to say. I do think that, I mean, potentially, I kind of like that direction of it looking almost like softer wellness versus softer bikini,
Yeah.
because those two are such different shapes ultimately. I would like to see it go that direction a little bit more because I feel like it would give a little bit more definition around it, and not just so much like just kind of off-season bikini. But we'll see. The fear is always like the levels of leanness. Like, are they going to stay true to that? Because if they don't, then we're just going to be back here again in 10 years.
Yeah.
There's actually one thing that I thought would be really cool if they did in fitmodel was like they do with classic physique is have everybody wear the same suit, like have the color be the
True.
same, like something that just really differentiated it. I hate the cut of the fit, and that's something that shows have been all over the place. Like I have a regulation suit bottom. I would say 99% of what I've seen on stage isn't, which is,
Yeah.
again, going back to like what you're judged on, that suit covers up a lot of things that make your physique not look great. But I think that would be an interesting thing, having it be like a solid color, pick blue. Everybody looks good in blue, and just
Yeah.
have that be a thing. That does kind of give a little bit more of that runway model competition look also. Like if you go to a casting call for a photo shoot or a model call, they want you to be wearing the exact same thing. Like they want everybody in a black tank top because it takes away the focus on that part of it. So that I would think that'd be something interesting. Do I think they're going to do that? No, but I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Welcome back. And yes, I am right here where I left you. And the music has started thumping. So if you can hear that, I apologize. Is what it is. It'll be likely the case for most of the rest of the summer vlogs. So in my outro, I'm going to talk about why I did not send a check-in this week, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video with Mike. It was such a great conversation. He had some great questions and we took some questions from the audience and it was just really fun. I mean, when bodybuilders get together, we can kind of just talk forever. It was funny though, before we started, I'm like, Mike, like I'm good for like an hour and a half, but then like we got to cut it off because I'm going to have to go to the bathroom and get a meal and all that kind of good stuff because it was in the afternoon. And he's like, oh, absolutely. Because the week before, the live that he was on was like 2 hours long. And I'm like, it's tough to go that long. The hormones for me, guys, man, they can go for 2+ hours, no problem. I don't know how they do it. I'm always like dying by the time we get done. So Mike and I chatted for a little over an hour. It was great. Took some questions and it was really fun. Super excited to see him up on stage next week. At this point, when I'm recording this, he'll be a day out from his show at this point next week, which is awesome. So excited to see how he does next week. Yeah. And so let's talk about what I would usually say my check-in from the week, and I'm going to talk about this thing that I have in my hand. If I put it down, I'll forget to talk about it, so that's why I'm holding on to it. I did not send a check-in this week. It was a really, really busy week, busy at work, had some incredibly intense patients and just a lot going on. And I was not really, and I'm still not feeling in the greatest place mentally to be able to take pictures. I just can't bring myself to do it, and so I've not sent a check-in. But I will kind of talk about how the week has gone. And one of the big things that has improved this week is I feel like I finally, not until like midweek, did I start to kind of turn the corner with my skin. Digestion has been getting a little bit better as the week has gone on, and I feel like it was really Thursday into Friday that I feel like my skin was finally starting to calm down a little bit. And I think it's a combination of everything, as it is when stuff like this comes on. I mean, it was so bad. The beginning of the week, like Monday and Tuesday, I mean, I could not even, like I had to actively think about blinking because my eyes were so swollen, especially on the inside, that like they wouldn't close all the way when I would blink. So like they were really teary. I was using these allergy eye drops. I was using topical hydrocortisone cream. I was taking over-the-counter allergy pills. I was doing so many things. And the other thing I did was I'd ordered this little guy. So this is an ice roller. It's a really cool one. It was so inexpensive on Amazon. I will link it in the description box, but it has two sides. And I actually put it in the freezer. You could put it in the fridge, but you can see it actually does, it actually rolls. So these roll on both sides. This one is rolls a little bit less, but actually rolls. And oh, it just has felt so good. So every morning what I do is I wake up and I take thyroid medication in the morning. So I have like a half hour before I could drink like pre-workout or anything. So I've got a little bit of time in the morning that it's just kind of time to kill. And sometimes I'll even go back to sleep. Like I'll just set an alarm and go back to sleep if I need the extra 30 minutes of sleep. But a lot of times I'll get up and I'll read, or I'll watch a little bit of YouTube or something. So what I've been doing in the morning is I've just been rolling for like 10 minutes, especially around my eyes, but my whole face with this roller. And it has just felt so good. And more than anything, it's just felt really good because it felt like it was just kind of calming down the intense discomfort I was feeling all over my face and especially around my eyes with the rash. So I think I don't think that this was really what helped resolve it, but this certainly helped me manage the symptoms of it and is something that just feels really great. So I will probably continue to do, maybe not every day, but at least a couple of days a week. Really I feel like this was quite the score. There's so many like these ice roller type things on Amazon, and I have some other, kind of like they're like glass and they're filled with liquid. But again, like I like that this actually does roll and it just feels really nice. It's really gentle, kind of can do some lymphatic massage with it, and have really enjoyed having this. So this was a great find. The rest of the week, like I said, my skin was really bad the first half of the week, but then did start to get better the second half of the week. And I feel like now today was maybe the first day where I feel like I'm not like just super embarrassed by how it looks. It's still a little bit flaky, not quite as red. I mean, I felt like I just looked like a clown at work. It was so red, and there was really nothing I could do, because if I tried to put more makeup on over it, then the flakiness just looked worse, and it was just kind of, it's been a little rough. And I know these are first world problems, but when you work in a forward-facing field, like where you're interacting with patients and, you look a little bit scary, people don't want to say anything about it, but trust me, I know how I looked and it was not great. So I'm feeling a lot better, and I feel like that's definitely going to help me mentally just feel a lot better and have one less thing that's kind of just like literally in my thoughts constantly throughout the day, which will be really, really nice this week, to not have to actively think about blinking so that I don't have my eyes constantly watering and hurting. So that'll be really, really nice. It's been to wake up this morning just to be able to open my eyes when I wake up has been really nice and has really felt good. So that's been quite a relief. But like I said, it was a pretty rough week, and all of that just didn't make me feel super great about doing my check-in. But something that I've thought a lot about this week that did have to do with the feedback I got from Aaron last week was thinking about my identity as an athlete. And, I mentioned that he talked quite a bit about perhaps competing is not something I should pursue if I'm struggling with body image at this point. And while like I said in my intro, I don't disagree with him. I've had those same thoughts as well. But at the same time, I disagree with it in a lot of ways. And I feel like, sorry, my phone was just making some weird noises because my battery is really low and about to die. So it's telling me it's going to die. But, I think that our identity as an athlete is a unique thing. And it's something that probably evolves across the course of competing and athletic endeavors. And it got me to thinking, and it was interesting. The very first season I competed, I was dating a guy who was a bodybuilder. Not a competitive bodybuilder, but like I would consider him a bodybuilder. And it was funny because he said that he didn't think of himself as a bodybuilder. He thought of himself as an athlete, which at the time I had never competed. I was getting ready to compete. So I said, well, that's like the exact opposite of how I feel. I said, I feel like I'm a bodybuilder, but I'm not an athlete, because to me, athletes compete and bodybuilding is just something that you do. For me, it was just something that I just pursued. So it was kind of funny, and that, it got me to thinking just about how we view ourselves as athletes and how we view ourselves as competitors, and what happens, when we can't compete. And athletes, when they retire or get injured and can't play their sport or compete in their sport, it can be a really challenging thing for them, for their mental health, for their personal perception of themselves and others' perception of them. All of those things are impacted by kind of like who they have become as an athlete. And I think, it helps me feel better about it. Yes, I'm struggling with the weight gain right now, But I also follow a lot of other competitors who stay very close to stage conditioning because that's how they feel the best, and don't see the need to just, kind of blow it out and become huge in their off season. And, I've seen athletes go both ways. You see athletes who do gain like a lot of weight and go far above their stage weight and do these dramatic preps where like every prep seems like a transformation because they have so much weight to lose or so much body composition to change. And some people do well with that. Some people's bodies are not stressed out by that and really handle that really well. I think for me, at least right now, that's, my head is not in a place where I want to just kind of, blow it out in my off season. And I feel like that would be detrimental to me as an athlete because it would get me farther and farther away from feeling like I belonged in the sport because I, don't look the part at all. So I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about, and I would love to hear, what you guys think about that as well. If you compete, if you don't compete, how do you see yourself? Do you think of yourself as an athlete? Do you think of yourself as a bodybuilder? Does it matter? I mean, I don't think it does, right? If we compete, we compete. If we don't, we don't. And it doesn't mean that we're not still working toward goals, whether they be, stage goals or life goals or whatever kind of goals. Like we've all got a reason that we lift and that keeps us in the gym. And we've all got a reason that we compete and that keeps us competing or that stops us from competing. And, those are all important parts about how we identify in our sport and as an athlete. So that's what I've been thinking about. And I also, a lot of people have asked me if I'm going to continue to do fitmodel or not. And, at this point, I just feel so much more drawn to the look of bikini, and I don't mind getting lean. I know that means I need a lot more muscle, like a lot more, but there absolutely are competitors that are my height. Kimber, I don't know Kimber's last name off the top of my head. She is a great example of someone who is my height and around my same weight and, stays incredibly lean in her off season. That's just her body type. And she is a pro. She's an IFBB bikini pro. Now, is she winning Olympias and that kind of thing? No, she's not, but I'm okay with that. I know I'm never going to be competitive in open bikini on a pro stage. I'm just not. I'm far too old for that. That's just not going to be my course. So if that's not it, what can I do to make myself enjoy the process and enjoy what I'm doing? And that's really, I feel like, the deeper conversation that I need to specifically have with my coach. And that was a conversation that I'd had with my previous coach. And he and I, had definitely come to an agreement about how far we were willing to go in the off season. And what I mean by that is how heavy we thought it was appropriate for me to get, or how far above stage weight it was appropriate for me to be in a place where I could maintain good progress, where I had good hormonal health, which I did. After my first couple of shows with my previous coach, I got my cycle back right away. I was hormonally in a good place. Like I had no problem eating a lot of food and just kind of keeping my body composition very close to where we wanted it without going over. And he was very receptive to my input on that. And that's, I feel like, maybe where things are lacking between Aaron and I. He obviously has an idea in his mind of what he feels like an appropriate amount of weight gain is for me. And I've already I have surpassed that and surpassed what my previous coach and I had decided was an acceptable amount of weight gain. So in some ways, I actually feel kind of proud of myself that I've been able to push it that far. And yes, I have struggled with it. As you guys know, I have had, not great feelings about it, but I've done it. And even when it's been really hard, and even these last couple of weeks with my weight sitting really high, I haven't started starving myself or trying to over cardio or anything. Like I've sat with it. And for that alone, I do feel proud of myself that I have gotten to this point where I'm very uncomfortable, but I haven't necessarily run away from it. I've tried to sit with it. So, that is definitely, I need to figure out how I can communicate this effectively to my coach. And that's, part of why I didn't check in this week also, because I don't really know what to say. And I need to figure that out because it's important. It's like any relationship. Like you have to find a way to communicate where, you both feel heard and understood. And you know, I listen to the things that Aaron says, and like I said, I believe him when he said that he's happy with how things are going, and he is pleased with how he thinks things are looking fine, and he doesn't see this as a problem. I believe him, but when I'm saying the exact opposite, and all I'm getting in return is, well, you're fine, stop worrying about it. I get it, that's how he feels, but that does not help him understand any more of how I'm feeling or have an open dialogue about it. And that's something I need to work on, communicating better to him and figuring out a way to express that. So communication is not always my strong suit, but I am working on it. And I'm sure there will be updates in next week's video. The intro for next week's video may be my late check-in and my feedback. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the next few days. So no pictures, no nothing. That's all I've got for this week's video. Again, the link for this awesome ice roller is in the description box below. And definitely be sure to cheer on Mike Horner Project. You can follow him on Instagram. He's great at, he posts a lot of workouts. He posts a lot of stuff on YouTube, but he's also really active on Instagram. So if you want to follow along and see how he did at his show, be sure to follow him. And until then, I appreciate you all so much for being here. Please leave your comments below, your thoughts on the athlete mindset. Are you an athlete? Are you a bodybuilder? Are you both? How do you know the difference? How do you find your identity in the sport? I would love to hear that. Like, I really, really would love to hear that. So thank you all so much. Please, 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 wherever you are, spread positivity and light to yourself and everyone around you. Like I said, the pool is hopping. That means that summer is almost upon us here in Colorado, and it is a beautiful day. And I will see you all here next time.